This is the Drive Towards FBS by Andre Deshaun Webb,
the first graduate student in the Sahi program and campus recreation, holding down student success.
Hannah Collins, and Sierra Sullivan. And yes, Dr. Page, we did decide to go with a division change rather than a conference change because those are two different things. But to shake it up a little bit more, we're going to talk about a subdivision change. So hold on to your seats there. So in this video, we're going to be talking about why the change is important, what exactly the FBS is versus the old subdivision, the FCS, what exactly the drive was, a timeline of the change, some of the dynamics that went with the change. We're going to apply it to Bridges' transition model. We're also going to compare athletics to student affairs and see how those intertwine. And then we're going to look at the organizational frameworks that go along with this change, and then we're going to critique the change a little bit as well.
The significance of this change, or the drive as the university may call it, is a perfect example to show exactly how students' voices are heard here at Texas State University. It also allows individuals to see how the change took place, being student-led and not being promoted by the university. And then the other significance of this is to bring national recognition here to Texas State in the athletic department.
The FBS, also known as the Football Bowl Subdivision, is the category switch that Texas State was looking to move up to. This is a subcategory under the NCAA D1 sports umbrella that allows for not only larger rosters within athletics, but gives more freedom to scholarship distribution. This division allows universities to be eligible for a possible spot within an end-of-season bowl game, and is a highly coveted slot because it allows for universities to play at a higher level, gain national recognition, and bring in more revenue. Texas State was a member of the FCS, also known as the Football Championship Subdivision. This subdivision was not bowl eligible, but did participate in an end-of-season championship in which all conferences that were within the FCS, Ivy League, Southwestern Conference, Midwestern Conference, and the Pioneer Conference, played in. This subdivision did not get much TV airtime, was not considered to be a high level, and also had restrictions placed in terms of scholarship assistance. The switch from the FCS to the FBS was known on campus as the Drive. This transition started in 2007 when Texas State students voted in favor of a referendum which included a $10 athletic fee increase if Texas State athletics would make this change. Yes, this was a student-initiated change. In addition to the increased student fee, what pushed the Drive into success was the Texas State alumni support through their donations and external sponsors to help cover the high costs that came with the transition. These donations helped to cover stadium expansions, recruiting costs, increased number of athletic scholarships, and travel costs. Here's a timeline of the key changes that supported this transition. In 2007, the referendum was approved. 2009, a brand new baseball and softball stadium opened, and the Bobcat Stadium's new West Side complex opened. In 2010, Texas State Athletics exited the FCS, which meant for a year in 2011, the Texas State Athletics competed independently. They did not have a conference to be a part of. Within that year, the old head coach was rehired to leave this Drive. And then in 2012, Texas State Athletics entered the FBS and was now considered the Western Athletic Conference. While this change was successful, it is important to understand why this change needed to happen. The change came about because Texas State wanted a bigger and more respectful presence in the world of athletics. There was an understood knowledge that this change would come with increased recognition, which included televised athletic events. As Dr. Trouth put it, athletics is the front porch of the university. So, with this increased recognition of the athletic department, Texas State also reaped the benefits of a more recognizable name.
We chose to apply the drive to Bridges' model of transition because of the three distinct stages of this change: the exiting of the FCS, the independent year, and the entering of the FBS. So, the first stage, ending, losing, and letting go, entailed the last year of the playing at the FCS level. The athletes were preparing to compete with better opponents or bigger name universities. They were also preparing academically to maintain scholarships because with an FBS change, there comes increased scholarship expectations. The coaches were the main people who prepared these athletes for these changes, as well as the academic tutors in the athletic academic center. But the student body as a whole was also preparing for this change because it meant letting go of old rivalries and important opponents that had been faced in the past.
Also, with this stage of ending, losing, and letting go. I'm sorry. It allowed Texas State to move into Texas State in this year were pretty much still competing at the FCS level, where they were still competing for a title, but not at the national level. So what this was, it was like that last year of just exiting out and trying to end on a good note, pretty much to move to the next stage. So with this opportunity, like Hannah said, a lot of things took in place. New facilities were being brought into play. The student body has grown. Student fees increased, as well as the coaching staff. The coaching staff has also increased as well.
In terms of the neutral zone, the year that Texas State competed in neither the FCS or the FBS, there was a time for current student athletes to develop the mindset to compete within the new subdivision, and for coaches and recruiters to find the next generation of Texas State student athletes with the potential to compete at this level. For the larger university community, this was a sort of a buffering period where no stakes were held in any competition. The new beginning. Once Texas State entered the FBS, it was important to maintain the new brand associated with the athletic department. This rebranding came in the form of new marketing strategies, a new athletic promotional group called the Bobcat Club, a push for larger audiences, new big name opponents, and all around higher stakes for the competition. Various athletic teams found great success at this level, both athletically and academically, contributing to a positive new FBS identity for those teams. Although this may come as a surprise to some, student athletes are students too. Many student affairs departments are crucial in supporting student athletes through college. Services within the disability, counseling, retention, and student involvement all contribute to their success. Since student athletes are a very publicized population on campus, there has been a push to help them feel more part of a greater student body. Before games, student athletes run tables on the quad to promote the event, as they are inherently a student organization. The athletic department is not shy about reaching out to student affairs departments for help to not only support their students, but also marketing their events and increasing attendance.
So in this section of the project, we decided to go a step further. We decided to look at the organizational change through the four different organizational frames: structural, human resources, political, and symbolic. So here it goes. Through the structural side of the framework, um, Texas State actually went from the bottom up. The chain of command went from the bottom up. And the idea came from the students to the student gov. And once the student government got everything in place, they presented it to the president. Then President Trouth decided to go a step further and create a task force, which included her, the VPSA, the athletic director, and the vice president of financial services. And with this process, it took 7 years to complete. So from 2003 to 2010, there was a plan put in place just to get everything in order, and the actual change didn't come about until 2011. And then from the human resources side is all about family and how we want to empower the students and things like that. So with this framework and through this frame, I we decided to look at it as if, with this, the students felt empowered because it was a way for them to build a sense of pride of knowing that their voices are heard with this organizational change. We also felt as though that the culture of the campus grew in support of the athletics and to create more of a family feel throughout the whole entire university, because now they're competing for a national title and not just a Division One AA or FCS title. And with this, it also created relationships throughout throughout the college football um, community, because it allowed for Texas State to reach out and build different networks and collaborations with other universities in order to build a sense of unity and things like that. So with the next two frameworks we looked at was political and symbolic. Political is all about money. Money means power and bargaining. And that's one of the things that with this move Texas State was able to do. They were able to bargain with higher caliber student athletes to bring them in to recruit them just by bargaining, saying, hey, at Texas State, you're now competing for a national title and you're able to gain recognition from the next level to compete. Also, with power, it allowed Texas State the opportunity to compete for that national title. And with that national title, more students or more athletes will want to come here. And not just student athletes, students will want to come to a university that's winning. And the last point underneath political that we decided to look at was the recruitment piece and the money piece. With Texas State making this change to FBS and playing bigger name schools, they were able to receive more money from playing somebody like the University of Texas or Texas A&M, somebody with a larger population and with more national recognition. Now, with the symbolic framework, it kind of switches over to the culture of the campus, and with that, it kind of changed the culture, I believe, with playing the bigger name schools. It brought more attendance to the games, and with attendance to the games, the students felt more united together. For prime example, not too long ago we played UTSA, and I believe that was the most attended game in school history. So it just goes to show you that with the bigger names of schools that we played, the more of the culture, the more of the campus culture, it changes that dynamic. Also, they use this piece as, like I said, as a marketing piece for those students. Hey, come play here. You get a chance to play for a national title. You get a chance to earn your degree, and you get a chance to get looked at by recruits at the next level. So that is definitely something that was symbolic. And the last portion was it destroyed the myth of that Texas State was not able to compete with the bigger name schools like the Texas Techs, and things like that, because Texas State was more so playing in the FCS with the smaller D1 schools.
So, although this was a very successful change and brought a lot of positive culture changes and structural changes to the university, there were a couple things that we feel could have been done better. One thing is that in an ideal world, the change to the FBS and the name change to Texas State University would have happened at the same time as kind of a total rebrand of the university, so that when people thought of Texas State, they thought of a bowl competing athletics department. And we feel that if those changes happened at the same time, it could have improved donations or increase those donations, and that's kind of under the political frame since politics is all about money, as we know. And we think that if the name change and the bowl or the division change would have happened at the same time, donors would have been more likely to contribute since they would have been asked all at once to donate to Texas State University instead of only in a span of 4 years of each other apart. One other critique that we had of this change was aligns with the symbolic frame. When Coach Fran was rehired as the head coach, we feel as though he could have been a symbol of the past and of the way that things used to be, and that could have hindered the moving forward and progress of the athletics department. As some of us know, Coach Fran was involved in sort of a scandalous departure from Texas State his first time around as head coach. And his second time around as head coach could have been seen in a negative light because of those past indiscretions. We feel like Coach Fran might have been a symbol of regression instead of progression, and that could have been a change that was made to this change for further improvement. So that is all we have on the drive towards FBS. We want to thank Mr. Matt Phelps for taking his time to conduct an interview with us and share his wealth of knowledge with us. We also want to acknowledge Bridges for his transition model. And we also want to say, eat 'em up, cats.